event this evening. We are with two experts that can talk to you tonight about the subject at hand. First, I'd like to go through a little bit about SCORE for those of you who have not had an opportunity to be exposed to SCORE, tell you a little bit about who we are and what we do and how we can work with you. So I just wanted to let you know that, SCORE is the largest network of volunteers that work with small businesses, probably in the nation. There are some 10,000 volunteers in some 240 chapters across the country. So there's a lot of great expertise out there. Many of us are retired and many of us aren't, like the two women that are on with me tonight. They are still working. I happen to be retired, so that's an exciting part of my life, but this is an opportunity for those of us who are to give back to people that could use the help. I've always wished that as I was coming up, I'd had a mentor to work with me in my business dealings. That's always something that's been very, very helpful to our clients and hopefully to you as well. So our mission really is to foster vibrant small business communities through mentoring and education. So we will assign mentors to clients that request them based on the opportunities that they have and the needs that they have and the expertise of our mentors. And then the idea is to give everybody the support that they need to become successful. And I always say, you shouldn't have to go it alone. There are too many times when you're working on your business and you really could use some expertise from the outside that's been there and done that. And that's always a great thing to have. It's a wonderful tool to add to what you're already doing. So our volunteers, and we've got about 90 of them in the Cleveland, Northeast Ohio area, give freely of their time. So everything that we do is free because of that. And we've got a wonderful volunteer group of people that are involved with small businesses on a day-to-day basis. And SCORE is for everyone. SCORE is for you no matter what you are. We have no judgment on the ideas or the businesses that you have that you bring to us. We're there to help you make the decisions that you need to manage and run your business. And just so you understand, we track and we look at the success of SCORE. This is based on 22. SCORE was chapter of the year out of the 240 chapters that are out there. We were number one in the area, in the nation. We started about 501 new businesses. I like that one. That's on top of the other 500. But on top of that, we create jobs. So when you open up a business or you grow your business, we're helping the economy. And it's small businesses that really are the majority aspect of what goes on in our economy. And if small businesses succeed, the economy is successful. So you can see that we're located in 7 counties across Northeast Ohio from the east to the west, and just kind of along the lake where the storm is happening right now. But that's us. And, we get a very small portion of our funding through the SBA, and we're a cooperative kind of partner with the SBA. So we're tied in there. And again, because of that, and because of the fact that we raise our own funding, all of our work is free, and it's unlimited. So the second last thing I want to show you is that we've got an event coming up that is open for SCORE clients, and we'd love to have you, if you're a SCORE client, to this event. It's a networking event. We're actually going to be at the Holiday Inn Rockside Road on August 12th. We will have space for up to 200 people. We expect between 150 and 200 people. We are offering tables for your small businesses for you to talk to people that are networking in and around the room. We'll have a little bit of a program going on. And before that, in August, we've got 2 workshops that are coming up. So what I would ask you to do is, go on to our website, which I'm going to pull up in a second, and show you the link to that. So here's our web page. Let me go live with the web page. Come on, load up. we go. The only thing I want to point out is that you can request a mentor. So if you're interested in doing that, go to score.org/Cleveland, request a local mentor. You can also look at our profiles to see who matches and actually request one of us. And then you can also go on and take workshops, and you've already probably gotten many, many emails from us if you're on tonight's workshop. And so that, you will see those, but you can do that. But this is what I wanted to bring up. There is on our homepage, this is what I just showed you. You can go here to the homepage. It'll bring you to let me get rid of that. It will bring you to our landing page, and you can register. You can learn a little bit about it. The agenda is here, and I wanted to show you that we've got two pre-event workshops going on that are really aimed at helping you with your networking. So first one is called the Networking Playbook, and it's helping you to prepare and excelling at events. And then the other part of it is, how to actually do the networking, talk about your company, come up with your elevator pitch and all of those things that you would do. And it goes beyond just a small little networking event. If you end up in a major convention or exhibition or something like that, networking is going to be a huge portion of what you do. And this is a great way to learn that. So as you can see, August 9th and August 17th, both at 7 p.m., we will be doing those. And there's registration links down below for those. And then if I go back to the previous page, the registration for the actual event is here. It's very simple. Fill it out, tells you where you are. And we would like it to be available for SCORE clients only. So if you do need a mentor and you become a SCORE client, you are welcome to join us at this event. So I think that is all that I have. I am going to turn it over to Karen Cross Hatton and Terry Watts Sereno, and I'll sit in and we will all look at the chat and the questions and make sure that everybody is heard one way or another throughout this. So, Tracy, I think I'm turning this over to you. Thank you. I'm going to stop sharing, and you can.
Thanks so much, Bob. That was very informative. I am excited about the events coming up. Thank you for
sharing. It's going to be
sharing.
great.
Yeah.
We've been working on it for a long time.
Person.
Oh, one thing I failed to mention, it's probably the most attractive portion of the entire event, is that we're going to be serving hors d'oeuvres, and there will be a cash bar available. So the hors d'oeuvres are actually going to be pretty nice because I helped order them.
Oh, hey. So you were leaving the best for last. We appreciate that.
I was, yeah.
It's all good. It's all good. So I'm going to share my screen. So welcome back, everyone. We're so excited that you're here. Let's see. Can you see my slides?
Yep.
They take over the whole screen. So Karen, I'm going to trust that you I'm going to move to slideshow mode. And yeah, I'm just going to trust that Karen's got the chat. So tonight is part 4 of our soft skills, and this is part 2 from solving problems at the source, how to empower your team to be solution oriented. And it has been so fun to be talking through all of this with everyone. So tonight's agenda is sort of a layer effect on what we have talked about in last week's session, and then all 3 of the previous sections, but it's also standalone. So if you're just here coming in on the fourth, on the 4th one of the series, you will still have some nice golden nuggets to take away and take back. If you guys can hear all that thunder, so hopefully you can hear me. Let me know if the sound is good, because it was getting louder here with the storm. So tonight's agenda, we're going to take the practical strategies for advanced problem solving, and then we're going to overcome the obstacles to effective problem solving and really dive more into the solution-oriented thinking and how the sort of nucleus to all of this is communication. Because we've been a little bit focused on solving problems, we don't want to create a culture of complainers, right? We we're wanting to create innovation and really end tonight with you having an action plan so that you can start implementing. So I always put a little fun slide like this and just say that I know we have a very short amount of time together tonight. So I just want to congratulate you for being here and let you know that I have a great deal of respect for your investment of time and your investment in yourself. And I don't take that lightly. So we want to dig in, dive in, know that we're going to ask questions. We're going to ask you to be interactive and really get as much out of our time together as possible. And it's so interesting that Bob shared the slides from just Cleveland, because I grabbed these off of Score's website. And how cool is this? So I would love to know in the chat, just curious, you guys are used to hanging out with us the last few weeks. I'm just curious, are always my questions. Just curious, how many of you are business owners? If you can put in the chat, how many of you are business owners? And then my second question to you is, how many of you want to be successful? And then Karen, you can let me know as people start to answer. And
yes,
you have such a great ally in Score, because look at these numbers. The amount of businesses that are started because of Score, the amount of jobs created because of that partnership with SBA and Score. So if you want to be successful, you are surrounding yourself with the greatest people in the industry to help you do that. So congratulations. So my commitment, Karen's commitment, our commitment to you is to invoke curiosity about running your business a little bit different and to add as much value in the area of communication and to think different about problems. Early on in my career, I would think of problems as, oh no, they're complaining again. When I started to realize, wow, if I could get curious and ask questions, it held the innovative golden nuggets to coming up with the best possible ways for us to serve and create better products for our clients than I ever could have done without recognizing where there were problems. So that is our commitment to you. And then I have to share these two things because they run parallel to everything that we talk about when it comes to really coming from a place of creating a culture of innovation and problem solving. So I love this quote from Warren Buffett when he says, I'm looking for people to hire. Okay, so whenever you're looking for people to hire, they have to have these three most important qualities: integrity, intelligence, and energy. And I love when he says this right here. And if they don't have the first, the other two will kill you. So this makes me giggle because early on in my in my business, I did some really bad hiring. So I relate to this so much. And I just celebrate how much I've grown, and paying it forward by sharing those stories with other entrepreneurs and business owners is my way of protecting other people from doing that. And another huge piece to staying on top of creating a culture of innovation and problem solvers is really making your mental health a priority. Not trying to give from an empty cup, making sure you take time out for yourself, like something like this tonight, where you're really diving into your personal and professional development. These are really essential to your longevity. And this wasn't talked about a lot when I was first getting started in my first business. So I'm so grateful that this is talked about. You know, this is a huge part of staying happy, healthy, and mentally strong so that your business can become your legacy. All right, Karen, anything to add?
No, not at this time. You said exactly, all the things that I was thinking and that I love. And you're right. And And we have learned through our stories, right? And so we share these stories, and we don't come to you with all success stories, but those aren't stories of failure either. Those are stories about the lessons that we've learned and how we are paying them forward.
Absolutely, right? It's like oftentimes I will teach about your pain becomes your, like, that moment of pain actually becomes your message, right? Like that thing that you struggle. So I try to not sweep those things under the rug and keep it real, because right now with sort of all the highlight reels that people put up on social media, sometimes we're comparing our beginning to someone else's front facing like 20-year investment, and we can get things diluted. So by sharing the behind the scenes look of what it really takes, and sometimes it does feel like you're sliding backwards, but as long as you get up and you add new ingredients, create that recipe for success, and stay passionately curious like Albert Einstein, how can it get any better than this, right? Like life is always improving. How can it get any better than this? So when we are going into our analysis of advanced problem solving techniques, we're going to reference back to some things we covered last week, the key principles for solution oriented mindset, because there's a difference in people that are just chronic complainers for the sake of complaining versus, hey, I see this problem. I'm not clear on what the solution is yet, but I invite in everyone in the group to have a conversation. Let's invite in conversation of innovation. And we're going to build upon that tonight and talk about how to introduce systems that can solve a lot of basic problems that in the past, there was a lot of repetition. Now there's lots of innovative ways to create systems and automations that get those taxing items off of the desk of your team so that they can be freed up to do more innovative things. Then we're going to dive into analyzing the data and utilizing metrics for problem assessment. And we're going to still keep using the stuff that we introduced last week. And tonight, for those of you that are just joining us, some of the clear ways that we can always bring problem solving solutions mindset into the conversation is to just be present. Just be present, and we'll dive in even deeper to I have a little formula I created years ago called S plus B equals R. So write that down, screenshot that. For those of you that learned about S plus B equals R last week, let us know how you applied this to problem solving this week. And we're going to continue to dive in, because this is a simple formula that almost tricks your brain into focusing on something else so that you can take an outward look. What's the situation? Okay, what behavior can I attach? When I know the situation plus the behavior, I'm gonna be able to create a new result. So when you're listening to people, you want to listen to solve problems. No matter what you're in business for, whether you're service-based, product-based, anything in between, a combination, you're in the business of serving your clients. And the more you can tap into solving problems for your clients, the more you create this innovative culture that even your team gets active in solving problems at the source. And we want to always think about being the real kind of nice, which is not telling people what they want to hear, but telling them the truth, and always going after the triple win. So these are the overarching techniques that we're gonna dive into even deeper. We introduced a couple of them last week, and then we're just gonna build upon that. So this is the formula that literally changed my life. up until I learned something similar to this, I always thought, oh, well, just bad things happen to me. Okay, I don't understand. Once I realized that it's a shift in mindset, that everything is a situation, and what behavior you attach equals your result. Um, a few months ago, when there were all those fires going on in California, they interviewed a bunch of people on the news, and there were people that were sitting in their car for hours that were happy and having a good time. That then there were other people that were freaking out and absolutely having a complete breakdown. Same situation, people were evacuated from their homes because of these fires. The behavior that each person attached created a different result in their body, in how they showed up, in what happened. So these are just everyday things that the more we can look at it like, okay, life is filled with situations. The behavior we attach will always create a different result. Any questions there? Hopefully you guys can still hear me.
Yeah, we can hear you, and there's nothing in the chat at this time. But I did want to just say one quick thing, circling back to something that you were saying about listening for problems, because sometimes you can detect problems if you really are actively listening. And listening is a skill. You think just because somebody's talking to you and you're sitting back and you are hearing the words, that's not listening. Right? You need to be present in those conversations, because sometimes it's a conversation that leads to you discovering that there's some issues that you knew nothing about. Right? So active listening and practicing that. And if you're not familiar with that technique, or if you need some help with that, you practice, you learn, you get a coach, you get somebody that can help you to really become a good active listener, so that you're able to pick up on those little cues. Because, I'm very direct, so it's not really difficult for you to, know what I'm thinking, or for me to engage. But others are more subtle. Some are very passive aggressive in some of the ways in which they approach conversations and those things. And yes, there's a comment in the chat. In the same situation, depending on the behavior, the results will be different. Absolutely. Absolutely. But, as leaders in your organization, whether it's your own business or where you work, you are a leader in those situations. And so it's imperative that you hear people when they're talking to you. You're listening to them when they're talking to you, and you're taking notes. I personally walk around with a little notebook, because by the time I get back to my desk, I will have forgotten what somebody told me, or what I need to follow up on, or things I need to go back to. So I have a little notebook to jot that down, because it's very important for me to really be able to keep up with the things that folks are saying. Sometimes people catch me off guard without my notebook, but I really do try to be intentional about carrying that around.
Karen, I am the same. I am very intentional about having a place to write it down, because for the brain, the act of writing it down helps with the memory connection, right? So even if you don't look at your notebook again, you're more likely to remember. So I absolutely agree. And I love what you said about the being present and the active listening, because those two go hand in hand, and they're the foundation of really communicating and connecting with both your clients and your team. So really kind of think about that. In my first book, Beyond Common, the 12 Essentials to Success in Life in the Workplace, those are the first 2 chapters. And we go deep on those, because people skip over that stuff a lot and you just want to go right to the result. But if you don't practice these skills, things can get away from you. So for tonight, I want you to just absolutely fire me as your facilitator, fire me as your speaker. And for tonight, just consider Karen and I your coaches in success. we, just like all of the mentors at SCORE, we are here to serve and give back and help. Though Karen and I are both actively working and running our businesses, we believe it's so important for those of us out in the field working and coaching people that we give back. So we're so grateful that you're here, and we just want to congratulate you for taking the time to invest in yourself, and just consider us your success coaches for the evening. You might be wondering who we are, what we're about. I am Tracy Watt-Serino, and I'm a 5-time international best-selling author. I am a speaker, a business growth strategist, and just recently, my podcast, Beyond Common Business Secrets, became one of the top 5% of all podcasts. So that was a huge honor. My before becoming a business coach and speaker and writer, I ran an award-winning business in the beauty and cosmetic space for years and years. And since then, I've become a global course creator of courses like the Beyond Common Method and the CEO Power Code. So if you're like, well, why should I trust you? That's a little bit about, what has happened. Karen, do you want me to tell everybody how amazing you are, or do you want to give us your accolades?
Well, it's pretty simple. I am,
You're
yes, I'm a young business owner, not young in age, but young in company. But I am not new to the game. I'm not new to business. I'm not new to leadership. I'm not new to, leading teams. And I too am very passionate about this work. I have a lot of the education and experience to kind of back that up. And Tom Raymond is in the audience tonight, and he says that a problem bringer must be part of the problem solvers. And Tom, I love that, because if a person brings something to you, we're not just going to let them off the hook, right? We want to know what solutions they're bringing to the table, but also we want to be able to have their perspective about that problem, because they're the ones that brought it, right? And so they see it as a problem. We need to do a little deeper dive in figuring all of that out.
I love that. Thank you, Tom. Love, love, love it. So when we're thinking about solving problems at the source, just like what Karen said, we do not just take someone's problem and start running around trying to solve it. We ask more questions. We go deeper. We verify if it's a problem that needs solving immediately. Is it something that can wait? Because there's 3 other things in front of it that if these problems are solved, that one gets knocked down. We don't just take people's stuff if they dump it on us, right? Number 1 rule of leadership, you need to be curious, you need to seek understanding, ask really great questions. That is going to help you get to the root cause. For years, when I started my business, I thought, oh, I just had to work harder than everyone else. So I took on everyone's problems, and it created this friction in my company where I got stuck, things weren't working, there was a clog, and the problem was me. I didn't know it at the time, right? But the problem was me. The problem is that I did not realize that I needed to ask more questions. I needed to get more information. I didn't need to be running around putting out fires all day that other people created unintentionally, but still they were things that were created. It was through this process of almost burning out, right? Taking this business that I loved so much and completely making it my worst nightmare. Locking myself in a box that made me come out of it, seek coaches, mentors, support to look at things different and to get the guidance that I needed. And this became a lifelong journey for me to grow as a leader, right? Because I definitely now believe more than ever that leaders are not born, right? They're made. We work over time. So this goes to the fact that, just curious, what do the best in every industry have in common? I just grabbed whatever little awards that I could find. But this is my favorite. Keep calm. The best is yet to come. Because no matter what's going on, the best is yet to come. The thing that is the best in every industry has in common is that they seek guidance, they seek support, whether they bring the conversation into the light instead of dealing with it in the dark. So when we seek coaches, mentors, the next level of conversation, that is a key piece to how to empower your team to be solution oriented by you first demonstrating that behavior. So last week, we introduced the 7 steps to effective decision making. And one of the best ways to really empower anyone, even your life outside of your business, if you're a parent, if you are a daughter, a sister, if you can think about making effective decisions, sometimes it's like what's for dinner is the hardest decision, right? So sometimes just making the decision is going to make your spouse, your partner love you so much because they didn't have to decide what's for dinner. So oftentimes to make effective decision making, we want to just look at how do we overcome the obstacles and really creating different strategies for this type of resistance that might come up. Maybe there's a huge decision that you've been avoiding, and by you avoiding it as a leader, it's causing all these other problems. Well, if people weren't bringing, ideas of, oh, this might be a problem, and you ask questions, you wouldn't learn that about yourself. You wouldn't learn about another issue that's happening in the customer service department. So they all intertwine at some level, but being open and making a decision, the best one you can in the moment with the information you have. Most leaders that even if the decision, even if they have to go back and change it later, the fact that you made a decision and went into action is usually better than just, thinking about it and never doing anything. When I interview team members across the globe, the number one complaint they ever have about leadership and management is they didn't communicate or actually tell them what to do. So when you know this, that people expect communication, they expect you as a leader to make decisions, that's the number one foundational quality that is going to allow you to set the foundation for culture of having your team be empowered to be solution oriented. So when we move on to inspiring and empowering your team, you want to think about it like when you do all these things, like leadership is about inspiring people, empowering people with a shared vision, and then leading the change. Then that creates the, excuse me for one sec. That creates the, sorry, I have a tickle.
That's okay. But while you're tickling, I'm going to just say one thing too, with regards to something that you were saying, right? Is that people want clear direction. But what we find, especially because we have so many generations in the workplace, is that oftentimes we're not even speaking the same language. Right? We are using the same words, but those words may mean something different to each of us, and our interpretation of those words may be different. So when you are giving directions, and on top of being, and giving them clearly, because we always, of course, think that we are giving clear direction, but if we are not speaking the same language, if they don't have the same understanding of some of the instruction that we're giving, then we are wondering why they didn't do it. And you thought you were clear, but you left a lot up to interpretation without being intentional about doing that. So you want to make sure that they understand, have people repeat things back to you, have them ask questions, allow them to be able to ask questions along the way. Don't just say, do this, and have at it. Or you can also start from a goals perspective. Like, this is what I need this is what I need done. This is what I needed to be able to do. And this should be the outcome. And then let somebody have at it and do it their way, because there are several ways to get to the same result. So you want to pick and choose, which method is going to get you where you need to get to with efficiency and the fewest number of headaches, right?
Yes. Karen, one of my favorite go-to lines in collaboration and when we're delegating is, just for confirmation, can you repeat back to me what you just heard me say? It sounded good in my brain, but I want to make sure I was clear. Everyone really appreciates that because it's genuine, it's honest, and you're like, oh, okay. That eliminates so many problems of communication on the front end and any disconnection. So that is like my go-to leadership question. Can you repeat back to me what I just think I said? And everyone really appreciates that they had time to clarify what they think they heard. And then we can, problem solve right there and have cleaner communication.
Because what you said and what they heard could be two totally different things. And at the beginning, before anybody gets started, is the place to find that out.
Exactly. It's like when people have a prenup, right? Like they planned the divorce before the marriage because it's cleaner, right? So this is a clean thing. We want to be clear, crystal clear about what, before anyone has any attachment to anything. And this, it sounds sometimes where people are like, oh, I don't want to do that. But work doesn't need to be romantic. It just needs to be impactful, right? It needs to be impactful. So from a leadership standpoint, when we inspire and empower people and then activate the shared vision, this will lead to never-ending constant improvement. This will lead to change when necessary. And this is the piece that actually creates the momentum, because I think that as leaders, we can focus on inspiring and empowering people with our vision, but you really can't motivate anyone to do anything. We collectively can, rise above with motivation, but that's like something within each of us that needs to happen. So when you set a collaborative foundation, this all flows together beautifully. Like if you have ever been part of an organization that it just felt like all the pieces were going, and even if there was a big problem, everyone came together and you could just keep going so easily, it's because all that motivation and momentum is already in there. But then other companies, when you're working with them, it's like one little hiccup or problem feels like the entire train came crashing back and it's at a stop. So the more you set the foundation for facilitating effective team discussions, brainstorming, creating this whole collaborative atmosphere around no one's perfect, no system is like cement. We are going after constant, never-ending improvement, and we're setting a culture for, if you see a problem, we want you to bring it to us. We'd also like you to introduce some solutions as well. This is how we can have people in all different departments from all different walks of life, all different backgrounds, different perspectives, really kind of create this, it's more of a collective level of intelligence that really, really creates a diverse perspective. So when we work together in this way, the momentum carries you forward. And I think that's when it's like, it's fun. That's when business is fun. And if your business isn't fun, why are you doing it? That's kind of, money is one thing, but we gotta love what we do, right? So one of the simplest effective problem solving is these 4 simple stages is like define a problem, brainstorm alternatives, make a decision, and then implement your solution. One of the things that allows this to go deeper and be more advanced is the brainstorming alternatives. If you take pen to paper and write down the 4 stages of effective problem solving and really dive deep into this, you can have so much fun with the brainstorming alternatives. You can do this with your team. You can do it with clients. You can really have fun with it. And sometimes we'll have these brainstorming sessions that are all about inviting in the most craziest, huge ideas just for the fun of it. And by going bigger and sort of over the top with it, you actually get all this humor and laughter around everything. And then if you keep going with that, underneath that, there is like this little sweet spot of a breakthrough of such innovation. And it really exists after you have as much fun and humor with how you approach solving problems. Karen, do you have anything to add there?
No, I'm good. I'm just capturing some of your nuggets in the chat for folks.
Oh, thank you. It's just like one of those things, like I remember saying, oh, one of our, I'm thinking of a specific problem right now, but it was something about the way deliveries were happening. And it was like, oh, we could all go outside and have signs that had all different things. Thank you for coming, which if when you start saying, oh no, that won't work, or we've done that, or that's, start judging the sort of brainstorm, then nothing innovative happens. So if you can just like create this space for the funniest, most ridiculous things to happen, from there, after everyone starts laughing, there is this magical breakthrough moment that so many great innovative creativity ideas happen. I often think it must have been how Sarah Blakely invented Spanx, right? I mean, before it became the billion-dollar brand. Who would have thought that we needed that? But women, we need that. So how can you improve solution-oriented thinking? Here's another like formula. I like to offer a couple of different ways for you to come at it, because some people are really analytical thinkers, some people are visual, some people are more auditory. So the way you come at how you improve the solutions and really leading your team to solution-oriented thinking comes first with you accepting that and believing it's possible. Like, it has to start with you and you finding a method and formula that works best for you, and inviting your team in to be part of those solutions. So you can take a screenshot of this slide too, because a lot of people like this one. It's like, write down 4 questions. What's the problem? What are the causes of the problem? What are the possible solutions? And then you just pick what the best one is. There are many methods that you can go deeper into analysis, tools and frameworks. And I think it's really important to recognize what is the most, I guess it's like, what's the most important problem to solve now, right? Because if you spend all your days running around solving all these tiny little things, and it takes you 2 weeks when you could have solved one big problem, and you could have done it in an hour and it would have saved you 2 weeks of work. Doesn't that sound much more amazing? So really think about what, there's a question I'll ask sometimes. It's like, I think I read it in the book, The One Thing. What is the one thing in this moment that would make everything else easier or unnecessary? That's like another thing that I'll just use in my daily, like, okay, how can I make this more efficient? And I'll even ask how I can make it more fun. Like, what's the thing that will keep driving this continuous improvement? we talked a little bit about this last week about implementing feedback loops and measurement systems. So if you're in a meeting and there's a problem that's introduced and there's a ton of collective ideas and all this stuff happens, but then it's never brought up again, that's not going to set the stage and set the standard that you're part of in continuous improvement. That's going to appear like you just forgot about something. So it's really important that as a leader, if you are not a natural loop closer, then you delegate that part to someone on your team to make sure the feedback loops and systems are in clear communication after, because you want to make sure you're setting goals and tracking the progress. If this is where everyone focused on something and we never talk about it again, then they're going to be like, well, what's going on here? It sends the wrong message and it confuses everybody. Karen, do you have something to add to that? I feel like you said something so brilliant about that last week.
No, I don't know. If you were here last week, you got my brilliance. I don't know. No, you're doing great. You're doing great.
It's like that piece of, like, I will say, like, I am more of a visionary, let's go here. And I just assumed that everyone realized, oh, you brought the problem. We talked about it and it's done. Well, there are people that need to know that the loops are closed and that the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed. So you just need to make sure that everybody has a voice and everyone feels, that we're making progress, because you're going to have different types of communicators, different types of thinkers on your team, and you want that diversity. That's what makes things great. So you just have to learn to speak everyone's language. And that by empowering your team to create the supportive and empowering work environment, everything gets so exciting. One of the things I look for often in teams is, how can we get a bunch of people that have similar values where, like, what they care about is a shared collection, but their outlook and how they approach life is so different. That to me is where things get really like juicy and really fun. And that really fosters a collective responsibility amongst team members that are like, oh, she's good at that, he's great at that. But we come together in a shared vision. So when you are thinking about fostering a culture of problem solving and innovation, you want to think about creating a roadmap. So if we've identified that there are 3 major things that if we fix these 3 things, we could double our revenue, expand to different markets, and knock down these major dominoes, that's going to be an area of focus, right? We would, this is something funny too. Like, sometimes people will bring you problems like, oh, there was 12 typos in the newsletter.
Yeah. And Thomas just put in the chat, he said, you must have management team, all-inclusive team or focus group to work on and solve problems and insert the action step solutions.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So when we're thinking about, like, what are the major, like, if you could pick 3 things that would make the biggest difference to getting to the next level that you're, that you've set goals around that you want to grow to, that is going to be so much more important than leaving the floor wide open for someone to say something like, oh, there were 12 typos in the newsletter. When you are changing people's lives, nobody cares about the typo, right? It's like one of those things. We don't want them. And I often will say, oh, sorry if my slide has a typo. But the thing is that you recognize it and you move on. But like, we're talking about when you want to come together and be innovative and focus on problems, that is when you want to set the stage for, by solving this problem, we're going to solve this so that we're getting this much closer to this big goal. So you want to come from that place not just because anyone can find problems and look for problems, but the type of culture you want to set are people that are innovative, that really care about the solution and understand the direction and vision and mission of your organization, right? Like that has to be in alignment so that collectively we're all moving together, right? Like everyone knows their role. There's a roadmap for how we're applying this, and then we're assigning roles and responsibilities so people know their part in implementation. And then from there, we're able to really look at like, how do we reflect on like the workshop and what we're working through. So I would love to spend this time to think about, does anyone I know we had asked last week on the call for people to bring a problem that they want us to uncover and dive deeper on. So Karen, do you have any are there any problems at work?
Absolutely not. No, I'm not having not one problem that I can think of at the moment. However, however, I would love to hear. Yes, I would love to hear from our friends in the audience if somebody has something that they like to discuss. I know Lisa brought us a great one last week. I know Kelly put some things out there last week. So if anybody else would have something to share or something that they'd like to talk about, that would be fabulous.
Yes.
And I'm just watching the chat and nothing yet. But, you know, one thing that I will say, and I don't look at it as a problem, right? However, change is always one of those things that makes people concerned, right? And oftentimes people get very stuck in their way of doing things, or they feel like this thing has always worked. Well, you know, the organization that I work for right now is going through a lot of change. We have a new college president, and he has a totally different vision for the direction that the institution should be going, right? And so, you know, there are a lot of people that are worried about like, where will their, you know, what will their place be within the organization? Will there be space for them? Will there be, you know, layoffs and this and that? Because in, you know, I believe probably the first time in the institution's history, there were some layoffs that occurred during COVID. And, you know, some people were able to also, you know, take the buyouts, but people want to feel like there's still a place for them, right? And so as leaders, how do we, with our very limited information as well, you know, kind of put some of those feelings and those insecurities to rest? So it's not necessarily a problem, but it can become one, because when you get the, you know, conspiracy theorists, you know, on the case, it then creates unrest within the organization.
So what do you suggest in this area? Like, do you suggest communicating and talking through how people are feeling about what's going on?
I would say yes. I would say, you know, I would say number one, being transparent and saying, you know, we don't know what's going to happen, but what we do know, right, is that right now we are doing important work. And we just have to continue to show up every day and do the work that we're doing. And as I find out information, I'm going to be transparent and I'm going to share that information with you. But also, I am a huge proponent of professional development, you know, so encouraging my team and the people around me to have a dream, have a plan. What are some things you want to learn? What are some things you're interested in? Because, you know, if the worst case scenario does happen, what are you doing to stay ready? Because if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. Right. And so how are you using this time to not only show up as you need to at work, but also do those things that feed your soul and your desires and, you know, mark some things off of that bucket list. Right.
Absolutely. One of the problems that I had a client that like in her organization we were working on is we had a client that had grew her medical practice to being quite a big deal. And during this process, we thought that she wanted to open up a bunch more offices and sort of grow to where she had multiple locations. And as we dug into it and really got clear on what systems were needed at the front for operations that helped clients and patients feel better, what team development and professional development did we need to put into effect to bring sort of this shared vision and this collaboration amongst people that just felt fulfilled because they were growing and learning new things. We put that into effect. We put marketing data and research into effect. We did all of these amazing things and completely turned around the organization, and literally I think we did 5 times revenue over year to date, and ended up that through all of this innovation and problem solving became this moment of truth that, you know what, it was time to sell, because she really wanted freedom. She wanted freedom. She wanted to have a different type of business where she didn't have to be there every day. If it wasn't for us taking each area and really clearly defining like where were the breakdowns, what problems were people having, how could we improve each area, we wouldn't have, like, she was not even aware that this was something that was on the radar. It was through the process of innovating different areas and really getting clear about what systems we needed to put in place that and this was like life-changing, because this was something that myself and my team, we felt like we weren't just helping someone change their business, like we profoundly impacted a major life change and really set someone on the path to, and now she's we helped her start like a booming speaking business. Like she speaks on stage, she empowers people. So amazing. But the thing is sometimes it's something little and it can turn into something so different than you've ever imagined. One of the questions I get asked all the time is, if I'm starting a new business, what are the most important key performance indicators to focus on? And I will ask a series of questions that helps people problem solve this. But the one thing that people leave out is the need to reach out to people you already know. So whenever you're starting a business or changing gears or, launching something new, going to your network and asking, who do you know that could possibly need my services, is a huge component to your key performance indicator when you're starting out. And sometimes people don't look at that as innovation, but I'm like, that's where you're like leaving so much on the table that people need to know what you're up to, right? And if you start clarifying your message